Thanks so much for joining us for another open mic program. And I love when Senator Boozman comes along and we get to talk with groups. That's one of my favorite things. We're in Batesville, Arkansas. Chris Hill is communication director. And Chris, you guys hosted it, talk with the senator, and he just opens up for any questions. And it goes a long way. I mean, there's questions I haven't even thought about.
It was so good. We're just happy to allow our members to get out here and talk to Senator Boozman, full of wisdom. And I think he really did a great job of hearing our members' needs.
You know, when you look at something that we were talking about during this meeting, that it was brought up and a lot of us didn't realize, and it was the power grid, and talking about the Newark Power Plant that is a tax base for Independence County. Senator, you were bringing that up. This power grid is something that's so important for us to realize because there's such a push to go all electric. That's not really possible. It sounds good, but common sense, it don't work.
So it doesn't work. And the grid is not able to handle it. Right now, we're in this inflationary period. The one thing that we've been blessed with in this country is cheap electricity, cheap energy prices. That's not true right now. They've really crept up because of inflation. And the way that you solve that problem is you use more of the resources that the Lord gave us. We need to be drilling for oil and gas. We need to be using solar. We need to be using wind, geothermal. I don't care what it is. We need to use the resources that we have. We've got the coal-fired plant. And so that's not only a great source of jobs, but also it keeps electricity rates low, which is so very important, not only for people's individual bills, but this allows our manufacturers, particularly our heavy manufacturers in the area, this allows them to be competitive overseas.
When you look at that power grid, and we talk about the Newark Power Plant, that was brought up that it's on a short lease, as well as the Pine Bluff area, that affects Arkansas.
No, it really does affect Arkansas. So nobody predicted that we would be in this situation, but we are for a variety of different reasons. But inflation was measured at 8.5%, in the last day or two. It's really much higher than that because we don't do a good job of really measuring the things that are important to the average American. So you respond to that. And right now, because of inflation, whether it is gasoline in the car, our electricity rates, our food prices, 39% increase, all of these things, it takes away everybody's disposable income.
When you look at the power grid, that's something that it's not a political thing of Democrat, Republican. Your good friend, and I know that you were friends with, was former Senator Mark Pryor. And I remember one of the key statements he said years ago. He said, there's 400 years of coal. I'm not ready to get rid of that yet.
No, very much. And you do look at the power grid and, electric cars are fine. But when you talk to our co-ops, when you talk to the people that are actually going to supply the power, if you don't do this slowly, you simply aren't able to do it. I was visiting with some of the truckers, and they said that in order to power a big truck for like 9 hours, it would take, and again, don't quote me exactly, it was like 80 some odd houses, the equivalent of that to electricity. So it takes a lot of juice and a lot of time. So we're moving in the direction of being helpful in that regard. We're not there yet.
No, Chris, that's one thing we talked about locally, labor shortage. That's a subject that everybody talks about that you talk to, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. We're hearing from restaurants and hotels and manufacturing plants that a lot of people are just having trouble finding people to fill those positions. And when they do find those people, they are wanting higher wages than what we're used to. And so that just compounds the issue.
That's something that has been stated. The food costs going up, and you got labor costs going up. The hospitality and restaurants is having a real trouble here.
Yeah, and again, a lot of that is high energy prices. It's high trucking cost. Labor is very, very difficult with the trucking industry, finding the drivers that they need. And really, it goes on and on. Some of the school superintendents, local school superintendents were here. They were talking about the shortage of bus drivers. One of them said it was not uncommon for him to jump in the bus. It's everybody doing whatever you need to make things work. But these really are serious problems.
So what do you think we can do when you look at this? Everybody wants to be clean energy. And I guess us old timers remember back in the 70s, it was a lot more gassy when you look at the fumes. And we really cleaned up. We're one of the cleanest nations in the world. So that's not really as much of a problem. But how can we correct this of shutting down power plants when the grid's not ready?
Well, first of all, what you don't want to do is create even additional strain, on the system. And for sure, you don't want to create additional inflation. You don't want to raise rates when they're already astronomical. Arkansans are having trouble paying their bills. So we should be drilling more for oil. We can do that in an environmentally sensitive way as anybody in the world, as opposed to asking somebody like Venezuela. You can imagine, what they do from an environmental standpoint. Plus, the other thing, Bob, is all of that wealth is going to another country. In that case, a country that doesn't like us very much. Let's keep that home. Let's open up our ability to drill in places like Alaska and do that in a very environmentally sensitive way.
And then we're talking about the shortages. You guys were talking about shoring up for manufacturing. That was something that I know that the Chamber was talking about as well.
Yeah, we are all for job creation in Independence County. And so whatever that looks like, whether those are energy jobs or manufacturing jobs, we love all of that.
That's something to look at. And when you look at those jobs, one thing I think they talk about is the automobile industry. There is no automobiles like it was, 10 years ago. You could go on a lot and see hundreds of cars, and you're lucky to see 10 on some lots, and they sell them as fast as they hit the ground. But there's a shortage on these chips, and that's something it seemed like it could be an easy fix, but it's not.
Shortage on chips. There's a shortage on the hoses that go into the cars. You name it, and it's just a difficult problem. Chris was talking about, as I go around, it's jobs, jobs, jobs. And they do such a great job around here with vocational training. This allows people to not only make a wage, but a very, very good living wage. We can talk about the problems in Ukraine. We can talk about our domestic problems. If you can't take care of your family, again, with a good wage, everything else is pretty unimportant. So labor is difficult. We're working hard on that. Like I say, jobs, jobs, jobs.
You got to go for it. Well, Senator, thanks for taking time and talking with us. Another great community meeting and talking to all these folks. And you hear so much from Arkansas. I mean, that is one thing that's the reason you love that. You take notes and we talk about it at each program. And that's something that we've learned here, even talking about the schools and the program where they can feed the kids and that. And there's so many things involved in this.
It's so important. One of the issues that came up today that I hadn't heard a lot about was the significant increase that we're seeing in health insurance costs. So it's just, that's something that's out there. To be honest, I hadn't experienced that yet with our, my particular program. But these are things that really do make a difference. So what that does is allow us to take that kind of information back to Washington, investigate, see what's going on, and then hopefully, come up with good legislation that'll move us in the right direction.
Senator, thanks for taking time and talking with us.
Thank you so much, as always.
And Chris, appreciate the Batesville Chamber hosting this. It's great. I love when we get the feedback like this.
We love to do that. We'd love to give our members an opportunity to meet with the leadership, whether that's at the local, state, or federal level. Thank you.